Welcome back to Bloody Elbow. Today, I am joined by the great George St-Pierre to talk about the Octagon's return to Canada, UFC 315 going down in a couple of weeks. But we are here because of Bud Light, who are doing a cool collaboration with yourself ahead of the return to the Bell Centre, where fans are going to be able to get their hands on some of the gold that you held throughout your incredible career. Tell me a little bit about the gold edition that you've worked with Bud Light in collaboration with.
Yeah, last time I fought in Montreal, it was against Nick Diaz. The last time I had a chance to lift a belt. So what they did is they took a piece of my belt and they put it in during in the promotion of the material, and it's to give a fans a chance to lift gold like I did. It's a fun project. It's a limited edition, and it's a chance to give back to the fans.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I love that there's the history with the Bell Center and with yourself and the Octagon. It feels like it's maybe been missing for a little bit in terms of the UFC coming back there and putting on these big cards. We, of course, like I said, have UFC 315 coming up very soon. Are you going to be there in attendance at the Bell Center?
Not only I'm gonna be there, but I'm gonna be cornerman of Ayman Zahabi, who's fighting Jose Aldo.
That's amazing. I spoke to Eamon a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying about how excited he was to be the first person to break that news to you that he was going to be fighting Jose Aldo. I'm sure it's going to be a surreal moment cornering him, against a legend of the sport in Jose Aldo in the Bell Center, which you of course have such history with.
Yeah, I mean, what is funny too is one of my, my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor is Wagner Fabiano, and I think Wagner Fabiano might be the cornerman for Jose Aldo. So it proves that it's only a sport for us. I mean, it's a very violent sport, but it's not personal. So it's gonna be a hell of a night.
There, of course, is already a great narrative with the fact that the welterweight title is going to be defended at the Bell Centre, which we're pretty used to seeing because of your career. Give me your thoughts on Balal Muhammad as a champion and how he gets on against Jack Della Maddalena. You fought a lot of dangerous strikers in your time. I think that's how a lot of people see this one going. But I think Balal has definitely surprised people in recent years. Have you been surprised?
Yeah, absolutely. Belal, he's the complete package. He's good everywhere, and he's got a very awkward style that throw a lot of people off, especially standing up and striking department. And Jake on the other side, he's on a tear. He's got a good momentum. He's on a winning streak, and it's gonna be an interesting fight. On the one side, Jake, I think he could have the advantages if in the striking department, but it's not only a kickboxing match; it's mixed martial art, and that's when I believe if Balal Muhammad, that's where you take advantage of it. I think he's got more tools to win, but that doesn't mean he's gonna win. So it's all about how they're gonna match their style against each other.
A lot of people would have said the same thing about you during your title reign, that how well-rounded you were was one of your best attributes. Was there ever a particular style that you thought would cause you certain issues? I'm thinking in terms of Balal, he's proven, like you said, that he's made some really, really good improvements in the striking ranges. And so I don't think it's as simple and as cut and dry anymore as, oh, well, if a good striker fights him and
Yeah.
is able to keep the fight standing, they'll beat him, because we've seen that isn't necessarily true. Is there a certain style you think that maybe could cause Balal issues?
Yeah, it's always about cracking the code, and he's the champion for a reason. That means nobody has cracked the code so far. And Belal as a style, he's very aggressive. He put a constant forward pressure, and he make guys fighting on their heels. And he's very good at changing level and changing the momentum of the fight. And that's his main asset. That's his bread and butter. And Jake on the other side is a very good striker. They both match. I don't know how it's gonna go. To tell you the truth, it's a very interesting matchup. But it's, as you say, it's not as simple as saying, oh, it's striking versus grappling, because it's not. The striking in MMA is very different. It's not only about like a kickboxing fight. There's takedowns. There's so much things involved, and the distance is different.
It also, one of the narratives going into this matchup is that it could have big implications for the lightweight champion Islam Makachev, who's spoken a lot about wanting to move up, and potentially whoever wins this fight might determine whether that move is next for him or not. How do you see someone like Islam Makachev getting on a weight class above, where he might be a little bit of a size mismatch to some of these guys? I know he's big anyway, but he's the pound for pound number one fighter in the world right now for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, Islam Makachev is probably the pound for pound right now, active fighter. Um, yeah, I mean, everything is possible. It's going to be interesting. And that's what the fans want to see. That's why it's so cool. It pleases the fan because we see super fights. And there's also Ilias Topuria that wants to fight Makachev. There's so many fights that are possible to make that are very interesting.
Like you said, then with Topuria, like with Makachev having a stake in this welterweight title fight, it could have a knock on effect on Topuria. What do you make of this current era of the UFC, where it feels like champions are constantly looking at the weight division above them, or very rarely below them? When I think there's a lot of fans out there that preferred it back when you were champion and you beat everyone in the welterweight division, and didn't set your sights on the middleweight gold. Is that something that ever appealed to you? And what do you think of it? This current
It's
kind of state.
about it's. I think it's about entertainment and build up their legacy. I mean, if they have a challenger in their weight class that is worthy to fight, I think if you're a true champion, you're going to give him a shot because you want to be the best. It's if I'm champion, I'm a proud champion. I want to be considered the best. I want to fight the best. I don't try to run away from people. If I'm in my weight class and there's someone that is a big threat, I need to take him out. That's how I used to see it, and I think most of champion that we have think the same way. However, if they feel like they kind of cleaned up the division and the guys are not so much of a threat, even though it could be like a false feeling of security because everybody is a threat. When you zig, if you zig when you should have zagged, boom, it doesn't take much to make a mistake and change the direction of the fight. But I think the reason why it happened is, we're in a different era. It's all about entertainment, and they want to make the fans entertain, and they want to build up their legacy the best they can.
What else sticks out to you on this UFC 315 card? You already spoke about your teammate Ayman Zahabi, so obviously that's going to be the one that you're paying particular interest to as his corner. But there's some really good matchups across this card, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, and Manon Furio against Shevchenko is going to be an interesting fight. Once again, it's a similar situation. Manon is a karate from karate, very good standing up, great, amazing striker, and very good at avoiding the takedown. And Shevchenko is great strikers, but very good on the ground and very well rounded. So there's a lot of fights on the card that are very interesting.
When I spoke to Eamon, we spoke about how he's kind of the people's main event in a way, being in a high spot, but having the local fan support, and obviously taking on a legend of the sport. When you look at the state of Canadian MMA, which obviously is always going to be a big talking point when the Octagon arrives in Canada, what do you think of it at the moment? Are there people you're keeping an eye on, people that you think can help to continue pushing that forward?
There's a lot of guys. There's Amen is one of them. There's Barrio is fighting. Charles Jourdain. There's a few guys that The problem is that a lot of people, they try to get big leap. It doesn't work like that. It's small leap, small leap, small leap. And when you talk about improvement, it works by little things that you do every day. You don't try to compare yourself to others. You try to compare yourself to what you were yesterday. And by doing that, if you can manage to improve every day by little, after a few months, you look back, you're like, wow, I'm so much better. That's how it works. That's how the career of a fighter works. People try to make big things. It's not the big things that matters. It's the small thing that you do every day that you improve on your routine, on your champion's routine, that's going to make the difference at the end of the line. And that's what I believe they need to work on if they want to be champion.
Are there current names that stand out to you on the UFC roster that you particularly enjoy watching at the moment?
Oh, there's tons of them. I mean, I like Volkanovski. I like Topuria. I like Islam Makachev. I like Adesanya. I like, man, there's so much. Strickland, very entertaining. I like a lot of them, man. It's Jon Jones, there's so many good guys that I like to watch fight. And Ganu, Tom Aspinall, man, it's there's so many. I like to watch the best because I can learn from them. And everybody has a different styles and different techniques, different specialty, and it's very interesting to me. I don't watch all the fights, but I like to watch the best so I can learn from them.
You mentioned a couple of names there that people are talking about fighting each other in what would be some of the biggest fights of the year. Can I get a early take before the fights are announced on Topuria versus Makachev and Aspinall versus Jon Jones? Because those are the ones we want to see this year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about legacy, like Jon Jones. It's probably the best fighter that ever lives. Talk about if I have to choose someone in his prime that I put in the Coliseum hand to hand, I think I would be Jon Jones. It's hard to deny that. However, nobody beats time, and Thomas Penol is on a hell of a run now. So it's to see how they get a match. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. As a fan, I want to see this fight. I would like to see this fight, but I think Tom is very hungry, and it's up to Jon to see if he still wants to do this and if the UFC can compensate him good, because I think he deserves it. So it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, and to get your thoughts on Topuria Makachev, which is very different in terms of these are maybe the top two guys in the world right now. And whenever you get a chance to see number one versus number two, we've got to see it.
Yeah, I mean, that's another same thing. I mean, Topuria, when he touches, it falls, and on the other side, Makachev, he applies so much pressure. He's an elite grappler. I mean, they're both good in every areas. It's a great fight for the fans.
Couple last things for you, George. Joe Rogan recently said that you are the best example of a fighter who has retired. And I believe he means in the sense that you went out on your own terms. You went out in an incredible way. A lot of fighters tend to come back several years after. I know you did come back, but you came back and won the middleweight title and then left again, which is hard to have any faults with.
Everyone, yeah.
Well,
especially Dana White.
It was an incredible accomplishment nonetheless. I mean, we've got Jose Aldo on this card, right? Fighting your teammate. He went away for a couple of years, came back. He's still competing at a high level. So, that's not to say that his is a bad one, but was retirement harder than you thought it would be? Because you don't seem like the kind of person that would come back once they say they're done.
You have to prepare it before it happens, and I retired with a smile. I mean, at the time when I retired, I had ulcer colitis, I had bad symptoms, and I didn't want to hold the belt, because I think it's disrespectful for the other competitors, So I needed to make sure to know what I wanted to do, and so I relinquished the belt to make sure the other guys had a chance to fight for it. And after my diagnostic and everything, I was on heavy medication and everything with the stress. I decided to retire, and now I feel better than ever. I found with fasting, I found ways that I no longer have any symptoms and I'm healthy. But fighting is not who I am; it's what I used to do, and of course I made peace with it. I will probably never feel that rush of adrenaline, that feeling of winning a fight. It's crazy addicting, but I have to get some of that competitive edge that I need to put it in other things. I still have it in the gym when I spar, when I train with the young guys who gets ready for fight, and I'm content with it, but also I try to put it in as an entrepreneur in my business.
I don't want to, after everything you just said about your life isn't completely revolving around fighting. I don't want to, it feels counterproductive to then ask you this, but we got very close to seeing you compete again with the UFC Fight Pass Invitational. Is there any chance that ever comes back around, or was it very much I can do it at this time, and then if I can't do it now, it probably won't happen?
I had a shoulder surgery, and now I'm trying to get back 100%. If it's for a good cause, I mean, I would never fight again in mixed martial art trying to prove I'm the strongest man. This is over. But if it's for an event, like a special event, maybe a charity involved for the fans, something fun, like grappling, the risk of injury are minimized. I still like to compete, but for different reasons. Maybe not. I don't close the door on that.
Absolutely. Well, it would be an absolute honor to see you compete again. I'm sure everyone would be incredibly happy, no matter what the matchup is, whatever the cause is. I'm sure people will be super excited to have you back one last time. George, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great time at UFC 317, 315 rather. All the best to you and Eamon and
Thank
the
you.
rest of the team. And I will
Have a
catch you
good
some other
one.
time. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye.